Hi, Mr. Delaney. This is Brianna. Just wanted to check your mics if you can hear us.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, good. Andy? Good evening, everybody. I'm going to call the meeting to order of the City Council for December 15th, 2025 at 6 p.m. And if you can all rise, Councilmember Bessinger will lead us in the flag salute. Please join me in saluting our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will City Clerk Parra please call the roll?
Yes, Councilmember Ashbeck. Here. Councilmember Baskell. Here. Councilmember Bessinger.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Pierce.
Here.
And Mayor Mwanatua.
Here. Okay, next is public comments. This is an opportunity for the members of the public to address the City Council on an item that is within our jurisdiction, but not on the agenda. If you can limit your comments to 3 minutes or less.
Hi, my name is Anna Lazo, and my son died from being hit by a vehicle on Fowler. And I'm just here today to remind you guys, I'm still waiting for Fowler to become a safer road. It's right next to our neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Lazo.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Bailey. I first met you here last year when I attended a joint roundtable discussion for road safety you hosted with Fresno County. Many thought-provoking items were discussed, but not a lot of changes happened. Many concerned members of the community spoke with genuine fear regarding the traffic conditions in their neighborhood. With increased development comes more cars, and with little to no safety measures put in place before, and in some areas even years later, fear and frustrations grow. And with good reason. We are seeing a record number of deaths and serious injuries due to pedestrians and cyclists getting hit by cars in Fresno and Clovis. Far too often they are children, and always they are somebody's child. I'm not speaking to you today out of fear, but out of the dark and painful reality of being that somebody who has had their child ripped out of their life due to traffic violence on our roads. My son, Caden, was killed after being hit by a car on Fowler Avenue, just south of Perrin, on July 31st last year. I stood up here a year ago and pleaded for change on a notoriously dangerous, dark, narrow road. I had just received my son's 10-page autopsy report that morning and read the 20 sentences it took to detail all of his injuries. The last words the CHP used to describe my sweet, handsome son was gruesome. And I read that day all the reasons why. But still, I picked myself up off the floor and made myself stand here and advocate for changes on that road. The speed limit on Fowler at 45 miles an hour is far too high for the number of cars that travel down it. A year later, that speed limit remains. In reality, they drive much faster than that. I can show you my son's autopsy report if you want to read for yourself what being hit by a car and being thrown 185 feet can do to a human being. Maybe if you can picture for a minute if this was your child instead of somebody else's child, you would all wake up and do something now. Due to further development off of Sunnyside and Clovis, hundreds of cars still choose Fowler as the preferred route during commuting hours to get to Clovis North and Community College and all of the new businesses and churches in that direction. I wonder how many of these drivers are newly licensed kids just trying to get to school themselves. To drive down Shepherd and get to Willow and International, you have to go through 8 traffic lights. If you take Fowler to Beeheimer and then go to Minnewawa and then to International, you only go through 2 stop signs to get to the same destination. It's almost like a highway now. These are accidents waiting to happen. Everyone seems to be prepared to throw caution to the wind and gamble with lives in our community rather than take the necessary steps to make these routes safer. With the lower speed limit on Fowler and Beeheimer, maybe Shepherd would become the preferred and safer route. With the lower speed limit, maybe Caden and Sandra would still be alive. There was an article in the Fresno Bee last week regarding annexations by the city of Clovis on the land north of Shepherd, including the proposed development of 507 acres east of Perrin, 2,700 homes with no current roads able to handle that amount of traffic. I've been told that Fowler is part of the annexation proposal, but I was not able to find any timelines when this would take place or what you will do to ensure residents in that area, as well as drivers, how on earth you're going to make this happen safely. Fowler is already a nightmare. 2 families have lost their precious sons within 500 feet of each other, 8 days apart. Adding another 3,000 to 5,000 cars on these roads will only cost more lives. And before you point your fingers at Fresno County, can I please remind you that it is your developing that is causing problems on their roads? Please do not act like you bear no responsibility in this. Caden was killed when you closed down Shepherd for construction and diverted all the traffic up Fowler. No traffic studies were done, no safety measures put in place, no police presence, nothing. You had a duty of care in that as well and failed to act. I do not say this to blame you, but to call on you to do better. Please do not make that mistake again. 2 dead boys is far too many. Nothing will bring them back home to us. I sit in the wreckage of Caden's death every day, deeply traumatized by what happened to him. But I will continue to speak out in Caden's memory and in Sandra's memory to ensure that you do the right thing moving forward. It starts on our roads. I do not want another family to suffer through the same nightmare we are forced to live with. You have the power to make decisions in city planning and expansion that will either save lives or cost them. By creating safer roads before and during the developing process rather than years after, and not adding thousands of commuters to our streets that are not equipped to handle them, you will save lives. Please use that power wisely with the safety of the community you serve at the top of your mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey. Yes.
So if I could just comment, Ms. Lazo, I know you and I corresponded, and every time I said we haven't forgotten, and right now that feels super dissatisfying. So I guess for me, I will say the system has failed you. It is on everyone's top of mind. Our city manager's been meeting with the CAO. We talk about it in our general plan. We talk about it with Measure C. What do we do about these roads where urban and rural meet? So we haven't forgotten, but the product of that is not satisfying. So I want to say we are sorry. I am sorry. I'll speak for myself, but we are on it. And again, there's nothing that seems really very satisfying about that. So thank you. Say it again. Do you have a plan for Fowler Avenue? There is a plan for Fowler Avenue. I do not know what it is off the top of my head, and we can get into that, but our staff is aware. We talk about it all of the time. So I don't have anything else except thank you for advocating. I'm deeply sorry you find yourself in this position, and we are working on it, but not at a speed that is of any comfort or peace to you, for sure. So, but I haven't forgotten. Thanks. Thanks.
Bill Scott, 341 Evergreen. I'm going to go after In God We Trust again. In the 1830s, Alex de Tocqueville came to America, wrote a book about our success, and in that book he introduced the idea of American exceptionalism. He didn't mean we were smarter, stronger, braver. He meant our government is the exception in all the world and history. All societies have 3 components: the people, the rulers, the religion. First, the people. They build the shelters, harvest the food, make the clothes, all the other products and services necessary to run a civilization. Second, the rulers. At the time, at that time, the whole world was run by kings. Almost every inch of ground on the planet was claimed by a king, a pharaoh, a czar, a khan, etc. It took more than one person to run anything more than a large family. So they had their aristocracies, their oligarchies, and their bureaucrats create order through laws and regulations that benefit themselves. In the process, they also take the wealth for themselves. For over a century, our government has been moving in that direction. Third, there's some form of religion. It creates the morals to control our base instincts. Humans wouldn't create them because they're based on delayed gratification. Humans want what they want now. So most governments had a ruling class, a religious class. One may have power over the other. They might work together, or as Henry VIII did, ban the Catholic Church and create his own Church of England. So now he controls both. Either way, the people are left to live as they are told with little or no rights or power. Our founding fathers adopted ideals that had been thought about by philosophers for centuries, and are embodied in the second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence. Our Declaration of Independence created a completely new paradigm. We hold these truths to be self-evident, as opposed to the self-evident truths of the kings ruling the rest of the world at the time. The first new truth, that all men are created equal, meant no aristocracy versus commoners. They are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Our rights come directly from God to us, with no interference from government. After life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, the next line, which few people know, and I think this is intentional, sets the purpose for our government. To secure these rights, governments are instituted amongst men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Our exceptional new government is based on its people trusting God will bless us if we follow his commandments. And the government's only purpose is to see that our rights are protected, such as this woman over here. That's your main job, to protect her rights. So we, the people, trust in God, not government. We control the government and give it its limited powers. At least that's what our founding fathers gave us. We must trust in God and take back our rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else like to address the council, public comment? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go ahead and close the public comment portion. We'll move to the consent calendar. Consent items listed in the consent calendar are routine in nature and are recommended for approval by the city council. These items will be considered and voted on as a single item, and I understand that Councilmember Bessinger would like to pull items 8 and 15. Oh, Councilor Basco, sorry, yeah. My apologies, Councilor Basco. And then, are there any others that you would like to pull on the council? We have items 1 through 15. We're pulling 8 and 15. Any others from the council? Okay. Anyone here in the public like to address items 1 through 15, except 8 and 15? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public portion.
I'll make a motion for the consent items with the exception of numbers 8 and 15.
Okay, can we get a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 8. I'll read that into the record. Item 8 is general services, adopting the Deputy Director of Police Support Services with a salary range of $12,573 to $15,283 per month in the police department. Okay, and we have Chief, I think it's Deputy Chief, right? Gomez, and I think we have our Lori Shively, also our HR Director.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay.
Did you want a presentation? Did you just have a question,
Just
Matt?
have a couple questions. real
Okay.
quick. So,
Is that okay if you just want to answer the questions on this one?
However, yeah, if he wants to
Okay.
ask, or I
Yeah.
could
Go ahead, Matt.
go into explaining, or,
yeah, actually, I read through everything, and basically, I just wanted to ask a couple questions
Sure.
regarding it, in that this position is basically taking the place of George Rodriguez's position, which was never filled after George passed away. Is that correct?
that is correct. This is a new position that will be replacing the police services manager position that George held before he passed.
Right, so this position pretty much already exists. We're just changing the name and the to broaden the horizon of who we can recruit for this position, and as a police department, who you can select, as opposed to, leaving it.
Yes,
Because it used to be a counselor position and everything associated
yeah,
with it.
for George, as we all knew George, very unique. Just like the classification is very specific to youth services and animal services. This gives us the ability, because we made it a little bit more broad, to assign in different areas outside of that, as well as other things too.
Okay, that was all. I just wanted to
Okay.
clarify that that's what it was for.
Any other questions from the council regarding that? Okay. Anyone in the public like to address this item? Okay, seeing none, get a motion on this one?
I'll make a motion to adopt the Deputy Director of Police Support Services as noted in the staff.
Okay, can we get a
Second.
second? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And number 15, I'll read that for the record. Waive the city's formal bidding requirements and authorize the city manager to enter into a 3-year agreement with Peregrine Technologies, allowing the purchase of technology software in the amount of $136,100 per year. And same, did you want a question or presentation, Matt? I
Again, it's
wanted-
just a question.
Okay,
Unless
we'll
everybody
go
wants a
that way, yeah.
presentation.
we'll go that way. Mhm.
You good with just a question?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
in
Kelly
reading.
Biaggi's here to take over this part, and I'm here for
Oh,
support.
no, it's all you. No, this, so I was reading through it, and it's a great idea, it's a great concept, putting everything, making it efficient, having a technology system that integrates with all the other technology that we have in the police department. I just wanted to clarify the funding source, that it's coming from the opioid settlement, and it's not general fund money.
That is correct.
So
Yeah.
explain the opioid settlement just briefly here, real quick.
So the opioid settlement is from the companies that were, a lawsuit was sent against and was given money to the state, with then given down to the pass-through. And so we have that money to use towards education and information regarding opioid issues in our community.
Okay, and so just, it's already gone through legal, I'm sure, and everything else, and this meets the parameters of being able to use those funds as opposed to general fund money for this project.
That is correct. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll use it for 3 years and then reevaluate at that point.
All right, that's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Anyone in the public like to address anything on item 15? Okay. Okay.
Hello, Mayor and council members. My name is Neil Mallory, and I live on Polson Avenue. I believe the proposed use of Pellegrin Technologies deserves deeper public discussion before moving forward. This platform creates potential for mass surveillance, false associations generated through automated data analysis, and operational governance beyond our local control. After reviewing the agenda item, I am concerned about the scope of surveillance the system enables. Integrating citywide cameras with automated license plate reader technology allows individuals to be tracked in real time across the city, even when they are suspected of no wrongdoing. What safeguards will ensure this capability is only used in narrowly defined situations and not for routine or warrantless monitoring? I am concerned also about the system's data fusion and algorithmic capabilities. The agenda describes a dynamic ontology that automatically creates connections between different data sources. How will false associations or inaccurate conclusions be identified and corrected? What audit processes will prevent officers from relying on flawed or biased outputs? And what does justice compliance actually mean in practice? The agenda further states that Pellegrin can integrate data from any current or future system without limitation. From a community perspective, this raises serious concerns about mission creep, where data collected for one purpose is later used for others without public knowledge or approval. I'm also concerned about interagency data sharing and lack of clear local control and oversight. Once this data is centralized, it becomes much easier to share with outside agencies. Without strict, locally adopted policies, residents have no assurance about who can access this information and for what purposes, or for how long. History shows that powerful surveillance tools are often misused, not necessarily out of malice, but due to vague rules, informal sharing, and lack of accountability. These concerns are not hypothetical. In November, a civil rights lawsuit was filed against the city of San Jose, who uses Pellegrin's system in its real-time intelligence center, alleging warrantless searches of automated license plate reader data. This highlights the serious constitutional questions surrounding these technologies. I ask council to consider whether there is a clear, independent evidence that systems like this meaningfully reduce crime. Efficiency alone should not justify the creation of permanent surveillance infrastructure. I respect the goal of improving public safety, but the potential for misuse and erosion of civil liberties is too great to proceed without stronger safeguards, transparency, and independent oversight, and meaningful public input. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Mallory. And also note for the record that Mr. Mallory submitted an email to us as well. And so did the staff have anything to respond with regards to that at all? Any of the concerns raised by our citizen?
I will say, the times that we use any of those technologies, the ones, the LPRs, the license plate readers, the other systems that we use when there is a crime, I said we have those systems already in place. This allows us to do the job more efficiently. Instead of having one of our detectives or CSOs go through hours and hours of surveillance to try to identify a vehicle before we even have a plate, this allows, the system does all that for us. So essentially we have these systems, these databases. This just makes everything run more efficiently.
Okay.
And the only time that we're looking at something is when there has been a crime or alleged crime committed. We're not just randomly looking at plates or vehicles or anything like that.
Go ahead, Matt.
Just confirming, there's already policies in place to cover a lot of the issues about, with DOJ itself and within the
Correct.
department.
Yes, correct. They're all what we call CJIS compliant. And then each of these systems that are being integrated, we already have policies on each of those of what we can use and how we can use them.
And if we were to violate those policies or somebody where it's actually punishable with a crime, if I'm not mistaken.
That is
right,
correct, with the
CGIS.
CJIS compliance, yeah.
Go ahead, Drew.
I understand the concerns about privacy and abuse. And can we furnish that policy to this man? Is that?
Is the
department
policy available to
The
the public?
Policy on specifically Paragon or the?
Well, no,
No.
policy on our license
On
plate
plate reader.
readers and use of technology to identify
Yeah, it's.
criminal activity.
Yes, it's through their systems under we have to follow their guidelines, so I can give their policies, yes.
Yeah, our department, yeah, if you can contact the city manager, sir, we'll get you a copy of the policy so you can see it. This technology is really important for us on many levels, but I can give you an example on two. When I was the chief of police in Atwater, we had a murder. In fact, it was the morning of my first day there. We were able to identify the suspect, and using license plate readers, they were able to eventually track him and arrest him. Also, we had situations, and I know other jurisdictions have had the same, where an elderly person leaves in their car, and it's called a silver alert. And, a lot of times they're having some neurological issues, and they just disappear. And the problem is they can be involved in a motor vehicle accident, they could get themselves stuck up in the mountains, any place like that. And the advantage of this is that it'll identify that car and be able to get us in a situation where we can find that person and reunite them with their family before they're injured or they die from health issues. So I understand the concerns on privacy, but there's a greater good issue here that I think we need to address. Thank you.
Also, may I add that all of our license plate readers that are stationary, they're all public areas.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Scott, can you talk about the city of San Jose? I believe Mr. Mallory talked about the lawsuit involving this use of this technology.
I'm aware that it was filed. I'm not aware of what the current status is, whether it was dismissed or the litigation's proceeding, but I don't recall there being a formal resolution or any judgment that said that the technology is illegal or anything. I do know of other agencies, I think, that have used this same program, so.
I think what I heard is not so much the value of license plate readers, but the this data being used for this, even though I got it for that use, but now I'm going to use it for that. And so I think those kinds of policies, the technology is one thing. I think it's what I heard was maybe you use the data for some other reason different than what you originally secured, than we originally secured it for. And I'm sure there are policies that govern all of that as well. And I think, George, your point about we don't use drone surveillance just to surveil. We use drones for the commission of a crime or some investigative reason, right? So it's like that. I mean, we have all kinds of technology, but we don't just randomly use it because it would be curious to know who's driving that silver Toyota, right?
That is correct.
So I think we have a pretty good track record of simply using it to solve a crime. But I hear you about the overlap, or I'm not sure the word, the interconnection between data sources for use one being to use two. So I think those policies and practices is what, at least that's what I heard Mr. Mallory asking about. So if we could talk a little bit about that, or get policies at that, or I'm sure this Deputy Chief and Callie would be happy to meet with you if you wanted some more information about it, because it is worth having a level of comfort, I think, for sure.
And so, yeah, you already had a chance to speak. Unless you have something pressing, we can meet with you afterwards. Yeah, and so appreciate it. Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be really important if you were interested in meeting with our.
Yeah, I think you can meet
Have
with
a conversation.
Deputy Chief and then continue the conversation with some of your concerns. And if there's something pressing with regards to our policies, you can bring that forward and we can discuss the policy. I think tonight is sort of the purchase of the equipment. Yeah.
Yes.
And so, any other questions? Anyone else in the public? Because I haven't closed the public portion. We're just answering the questions.
I'll make a motion to waive the bidding requirements and authorize the agreement for the technologies as we discussed.
Okay, we have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
I forgot to vote aye.
Okay. And Mr. Mallory, you have the clerk's card, and so if you have any questions or concerns with regards to actual policies, please take a look at them and let us know. Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move now to item 16. And so we'll move to public hearings. This has three parts to it. This is consider various items associated with 40.62 acres of land located at the southeast corner of North Sunnyside Avenue and East Perrin Avenue. Multiple owners, Quail Run Group, applicant Rich Wathen and Jared Callister, representatives. Item A, a resolution of the City Council approving a addendum to the EIR Environment Impact Report adopted for Shepherd North for the Quail Run annexation. Item B is Resolution 313, a resolution of the City Council approving an application for the annexation of the territory known as the Perrin Sunnyside Southeast Reorganization Area, 40.62 acres. And item C is consider introduction of ordinance of the City Council approving a request to pre-zone the properties with the Quail Run neighborhood from the Fresno County RR Rural Residential Zone District to the Clovis RR Rural Residential Zone District, and this is R 2024-008. Staff on this is Marissa, and we got Thad, and we have, I keep forgetting your name, Nick. Yes, and so.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. So tonight's item is a request by the Quail Run neighborhood for annexation into the city of Clovis to connect to our city water. So the Quail Run neighborhood is highlighted in purple on the screen. It is about 40 acres in size and consists of 18 rural residential properties that are east of Sunnyside, south of Perrin, and north of Shepherd. The neighborhood is also directly adjacent to Wilson's Tract Map 6205, otherwise known as Shepherd North, which was approved during the spring of 2024. And at that time, an annexation was part of that application, and the Quail Run neighborhood did express interest in annexing into the city with that project, but unfortunately, due to the timing, that didn't work out. So the Shepherd North project moved forward, and our city limits grew, which you can see on the screen in red. They go right around the Quail Run neighborhood, and the Shepherd North project also expanded our sphere of influence, which is that green line towards the top, just north of the Quail Run neighborhood. So it is reasonable to say that we expected at some point in time the Quail Run neighborhood to annex into the city, since it is within that sphere. So a little while after the Shepherd North project was approved, the neighbors within the Quail Run neighborhood reached out to staff and inquired about filing an application to annex, and this is a little bit of a new circumstance because we typically annex in rural residential properties with a development, and with this project there is no development involved because all 18 properties are fully developed. So we did come before you, staff, on June 17th of 2024, seeking some direction on how to proceed. And the direction from the council was to proceed with our typical annexation and pre-zone applications, which is what we are here doing tonight. So a little bit of the background for the pre-zone specifically. Whenever property is annexed into the city, we need to designate it a zone district, and that is the purpose of the pre-zone. So the Quail Run neighborhood has a general plan land use of rural residential. It is surrounded by a variety of single-family homes at varying densities that are either recently constructed or currently under construction. And this application would be to amend the zoning. So the properties now are zoned rural residential in the County of Fresno's jurisdiction. Again, it's surrounded by single-family zone districts, and it would be amended to the city's rural residential zone district, which is consistent with the planned land use of rural residential. Also, I did want to mention that we did analyze the environmental impacts of this annexation, and since this area was within the Shepherd North Sphere of Influence expansion area, it was analyzed with the Shepherd North project to see if there would be any significant environmental impacts, and an environmental impact report addendum was prepared with this application, and it showed that there would be no new environmental impacts that already wouldn't be occurring with the Shepherd North project. Again, because it's fully developed. And with annexations, there are a couple fees that are due, so we did want to bring those up tonight. We do have 2 fees to some of our external agencies, and these are more of pass-through fees, so we will not be getting the money for them, but the first one will be going to LAFCO. If this project is approved tonight, staff will work to submit the application to LAFCO for the annexation. That costs $9,600 that the Quail Run group will need to pay, and that is for the entire area. And then if it's approved by the LAFCO Commission, then there would be a $1,200 filing fee essentially to the Board of Equalization, and a second fee to the County of Fresno, which is our fire transition fee, and this is to keep the Fresno County Fire Protection District whole. This is common for all of our annexations over the past 10 or so years. And it's just to make sure that the Fresno County has enough income since they are losing the property taxes for the annexation and the city is getting them instead. So this would be a one-time payment for all 18 parcels of about $44,000. And based on that agreement, there is a 10-year agreement. So Quail Run would make that first payment, and over the next 9 of those 10 years, the city would be paying about $370,000, but that would cancel out with the property taxes that we receive from the 18 homes. And then the properties would also be annexed into the city's community facilities district, which is for our public safety, so fire, PD, code enforcement, and also into our landscape maintenance district, which helps with the maintenance of our existing parks, medians, and other landscaped areas. And that is just a charge onto the property taxes. And all properties pay that in the city. And then additionally, there are some water connection fees and development impact fees, which total roughly $1 million. And we did work with the property owners through the annexation agreement to let them split that fee amongst the 18 owners, which works out to roughly $58,000 each, which would be due at the time of connection. Again, these development impact fees are common when new areas are annexed into the city. And with that, staff is recommending that the City Council approve an addendum to the EIR adopted for the Shepherd North project for the Quail Run neighborhood and approve reorganization 313 and rezone 2024-008. Since these properties are within the city's sphere of influence area, it is consistent with all of our general plan goals and policies. And the environmental analysis showed that there would be no new significant environmental impacts that aren't already existing in the area. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions, staff? Go ahead, Drew.
I have some order questions. Can you go back to page 11, I believe? Back one page? The other way. There you go. Part of the connection fees at $57,000 and change each. In the event that someone, let's say they're going through the second mortgage process to get money for that, is there any flexibility on our part if they don't have the money then, but they have, I mean, I believe that it should be due at the time of connection, but have we considered any type of leeway, a month or something like that, or? Right, when do we expect that to occur? Do they have enough lead time, I guess, my question.
So we do have an ordinance set up for fee payment, but we need to discuss that internally because I believe that under the ordinance that these property owners wouldn't qualify for that. So the actual payment would be due at the time of hookup.
Okay. Is there any, I don't know if we've considered it. I know people were trucking water in for their use. If someone was to choose to truck their water in, separate their landscaping from their house use, is there an ability for someone to truck water in for landscaping only and connect to city water? Is that, I mean, I imagine it's more expensive using city water than it would be to use maybe non-potable water. Have we ever had any history with that?
I'm not aware of any history with that. My understanding is the reason why they want to hook up the water is because they are trucking in water and it's an expensive deal. But they do have the option that if they have a well that's still operational, that they can keep that connection for irrigation purposes. So there might be an option if they wanted to truck in to do that also. I'm not sure about that.
I thought that when people came into the city and were hooked up to city water, that their well was usually rendered inactive. That's not correct?
That is normal, yeah. Under the agreement that we went through with these property owners, we gave them the option to keep their well online for irrigation of their property.
Okay, I think that's reasonable. That's the only reason I was asking. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Any other questions? Mackenzie, I wanted to understand what is required in rural residential, and do we have other properties in the city that is that? So, because I'm trying to understand, because it's the RR designation, there's no requirement for curb and sidewalk. There's no requirement, those type of requirements where we have to put street lights in, and can you explain that? So that way I can go, okay, the RR designation does not require that. That's why we are choosing that. So that way the transition is very fluid.
So with these property owners, we came to agreement with them that they wouldn't have to install all the city facilities as far as street improvements as normally would be installed. They are requesting purposely just to get water from the city. So in our agreement, we're not forcing them to put in curb and gutter, but with that, they don't get street sweeping of their streets. We're not forcing them to put in street lights. They do have to have the improvements of their pavement up to certain standards for us to take on the maintenance of that. but through the agreement, we have come to an agreement to modify what the requirements are that normal development would be required to do.
So if the PCI of their road goes below a certain, are we then required to bring that up to our standards? Or
So,
are they required to just keep it? Help me understand that.
so
as well.
for us to maintain the road, we're requiring them to bring their pavement up to a certain standard,
Okay.
certain PCI, before we will take on the maintenance.
Okay, so moving forward, if it deteriorates right now, it's on them, in other words, until they move it up to a certain PCI.
Correct.
So if they like it however it is, they can have it however it is.
Yeah, that wasn't the understanding, but I guess it could go that way. The understanding was that they would bring it up so that we would take on the maintenance, but.
And so does that create any liability for police and fire? Because, because they're going to go on these roads to service these 18 homes now, correct? 'Cause
Correct,
we're on the hook for that.
correct.
So if they never bring it up and fire goes, we're protected. I just want to make sure we're protected as long as they like it that way and our fire trucks come in. I just want to make sure fire's like, that'll serve us. We're fine. Our
So-
heavy trucks going on a road that is not to our standards.
So we might have to address that in the agreement because we don't have specific language in the agreement
Okay.
that says when that time period has to happen. But it was implied that it would be before they finish their hookups.
Okay. And then if they sell, they can keep all these conditions. It's not one where if they sell, there's certain requirements where that's when you have to hook up to water. They can keep living on a well and septic for the time.
Yeah, we're not forcing them to hook
Okay.
up at this time. It's optional for them. And the rights will transfer with ownership. I don't know if I'm answering your question completely.
Does this open us up to where in the future it creates annexations where it is no longer our standards? I just want, I'm thinking ahead. And so, we do this. You don't have to have our streets. You don't have to have our curb, but you will receive all the services that we give. You don't even have to hook up. And so I just look at that and I go, well, how do we sort of work that relationship out in the future, and what liabilities are we putting ourselves up for? I don't know. Is that a legitimate concern? Yeah.
Of course it is, yes. We are kind of setting a precedence, so, I think we have to tread lightly in what we do, because going forward, we might have additional properties requesting different or similar requests.
And we're comfortable with this.
But in working through the agreement, we're comfortable with this being somewhat of a standard to work from for other parcels that we may run across. There aren't a ton,
Yeah.
but we worked really hard to come up with ways and methods to kind of allow the neighborhood to transition over time to city standard, rather than a significant upfront cost to the city or to the property owners to come into the city limits.
Okay. All right, I just want to make sure that PD, fire, you driving through those streets, you're like, oh, it's fine. It's good. We can live with it. And so, because we didn't want some county roads because they weren't up to our standards, because, we will be driving through them. But I just look at it, and as long as you guys are the one who looked at it intently and looking what it will set up, and maybe this is a way to get potentially Shenandoah Farms or other where there's homes already set, getting them in, and I look at that way as a positive part of it as well, to where there are many homes already. So I'm looking at it as maybe that's a potential to where this sets that, but I look at it, I'm just a little bit concerned about those liabilities where, God forbid something happens, go, oh, because there's no lights, how come there are no lights here? And so that's, I worry about that, that's all. Or like if fire goes in and there's it was an inadequate road for fire to maneuver through, and, you know, who's on the hook for that, so. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two follow-up questions. One is indemnification. The mayor brought this up. If we're not putting curbs, gutters, or drainage in that area, correct? Are we indemnified in the event of a heavy rain event? Because I can recall, we had a heavy rain event a couple of years ago on alluvial east of Fowler. And we got several claims against us because of the way the water didn't move and flooded some property. Are we indemnified if we're not putting that infrastructure in? They should be on their own in case of a flood. They can't blame it on us because of the flood. Are we indemnified in that?
In this agreement, we did address the on-site storm drainage and how these properties were originally developed under the county with on-site storm, so their sites would drain and they would hold the water on their own site. So in the agreement, we do discuss how that arrangement is going to hold into the future, and we are not going to be installing storm drain facilities for these properties, so that it would continue to operate as it is and as it has in the county.
It's a little bit different, I think, Councilmember Bester, than the one you're describing. There's no change in the drainage patterns as a result of this annexation. There's no development happening with these 18 units or 18 parcels, unlike the situation you were describing. There was a change in the drainage patterns as a result of the city's development in that area, which was kind of the issue there.
And a follow-up, are we required to maintain their existing ponding basins?
Yeah, no, in the agreement, we say that we are not responsible for that on-site drainage.
Now, if in the event that someone, we put it in, it's time to hook up, and they go, no, I'm good, are they required to hook up at the time of completion? And the reason I'm asking is if they're not, and they say, no, I'm good, I can use my well water because you're letting us keep our wells, then in the future, when they want to do that, somebody's going to have to cut the street and connect them, which, you know, then you run into once you cut a street, the undermining of the street is going to come next. Are they required to hook up?
They are not required to hook up.
I didn't catch that.
They are not required to hook up.
Oh.
And my understanding, I mean, the property owners could explain further, but my understanding that not all of them plan to hook up initially.
How far into the street would they have to cut if the next owner of a house wants to, or they decide to do it? How far is the water main in the middle?
It is not, so it depends on which side of the street that the property is on. That would depend on the location.
And would the city bear any of the cost of that hookup?
No.
And that $57,000 could be significantly higher if they had to go all the way across the street to get into the main, correct?
So I should clarify that $57,000 is only for the development impact fees. The property owners will also be bearing the cost to install the water main in the street and all their services. So that cost is not included in the $57,000.
Okay, so I'm assuming that is it 18 properties? All 18 properties have to kick in to get the water main put in, and then it's optional whether they connect.
I assume also that they're all kicking in for the installation of the water main, but yes, it is optional for them to hook up.
I'm assuming there's somebody from the neighborhood here, so I'll ask that question. Thank you.
Lynn, you had some questions.
Well, I think it's the sequencing of this is interesting, and so I guess remind me on an annexation like this, they all don't have to agree to hook up to our water, obviously. Is that right? Is there like a threshold? Half of them have to say we're not going to do all this for one house, I assume. Is there a threshold, or are we going to do it for one house? No, you do it. No, you answer it.
So this is not a typical arrangement here. So I don't think there is a set threshold. They just have to all be in agreement. All 18 properties have to be in agreement to want to be annexed and want to enter into the agreement that we're a memorandum of understanding for the hookup.
So I think in this case, we can assume that they're all in agreement to be annexed, not all in agreement if they're ready to hook up to the water systems, right?
That is the assumption, yeah.
So let's say, I don't know, let's say 10 of the houses are ready today. The remaining nine houses, 18 or 19? 19. 18. The other 8 houses don't want to do it today. So if each one of the remaining 8 houses decides in a different year to hook up, we're going to tear up the street for that house, and then the next house, and then the next, right? Is that how this is going to go?
They would have to trench through for their service.
And
yes.
that cost is borne by the residents?
That is borne by the residents, correct.
What is wrong with you guys? No, I'm kidding. Okay, that cost is borne by the residents. Who's responsible for the quality of the road?
Well, we have standards set in place where they would have to their trench work would have to come to standards.
So we would then go out and be the inspector on all of the engineering, all the infrastructure work that
is correct. That is correct.
That's interesting. The other question you made me think about it. It is really dark out there. It's really dark. So are your address lights on your house illuminated? Okay, none of you know. You live in the dark. They're not. No, I'm kidding. So I think are those standards from a police response? I mean, I don't know what the agreement looks like, but is that all the things we've accounted for in there? I'm going to say no on the lighted house address.
I don't think we got down to house lighting and numbering.
Yes, they're lit. I mean, sorry, I wasn't sure if I could say.
No, but a lot of the properties out there have taken care of lighting relative on their own because there aren't street lights. So I think it's been kind of a self-take care of neighborhood, and this is unique for us in that we're annexing an area that's fully developed to a much different standard of the city, that we're trying to figure out how to help them with water and make sure that we're financially covered. That's the goal.
No, I think there probably are those details we've not thought about, because it is dark and your houses may be lit, but you know where you're going. And if you don't know where you're going, I think it's super dark. So I just think there could be some of those things that are worth thinking about at the core level of local government, which is your water and public safety. Your trash, is that city trash too? Is that optional, so 10 people can choose, and how does that work?
Yeah, that's per our municipal code. So once they come in, they would have the option to connect immediately or to get those services immediately of our solid waste, with the exception of street sweeping. But up to 5 years, they could maintain their current service. So, and that's how we do it in our municipal code.
That's how we do it where?
Or that's how it's covered in the municipal code currently.
Well, just maybe other things to think. How do we do that core level of local government in a neighborhood that maybe the streets if they're county streets, maybe they're not great, and if there's no lighting, and if there's, I don't know. I think 5 years is a really long time. I feel like there's too many options here. I mean, we're going to incur a whole bunch of cost. They're going to incur a whole bunch of cost. So I don't know. All right. Well, that's enough for now, but those are all good questions from my colleagues.
Scott, okay, well, first, Sunnyside on the east side, there the parent, no improvement then, right? On the east side, because it's abutting them. Because usually once they come in, they fix the streets because something will be built and they will fix it. But that side will remain curbless and gutterless?
Correct.
And then it's back to the question you said earlier. Oh, but, that's different because we were doing development and we're developing on the west side. So the water's gonna come someplace unless it's just west side only drains on the west, and then this side, there's all the other side's gonna be concrete. And so what's the liability if water goes into that neighborhood from the development? Because it went up pretty high. So I look at it and go, as long as they say, we won't sue you, indemnify you, water come on, develop north of Perrin, we're good with it, then I'm going, that's fine, I don't mind. But I just look at it and go, okay, what if police and fire and there's something happens and it was too dark and there's one of the other residents drives through and they have an accident and they go, oh, because there was no lights. And I look at that and I go, okay, how do we do city stuff when it's not city standards? And I just worry about that. I want to help them, but as long as they keep identifying us for everything, then okay, that we typically have as a city, I'm okay. But you're saying that side of the street won't be developed, and I don't know when it will, because they're pretty much built already, and then the north side won't be, right? Sidewalk and the north side, on Perrin, so it'll still remain a county-type road. And we're developing, and I remember, was it Nice and Temperance, that home that kept flooding, and we got, because they remain county-like or rural. And so I look at that and I just go, those are beautiful homes, and we are going to create those issues for them because of our development. How are we protected?
I think as Nick pointed out, the drainage pattern is not changing in this area, so we shouldn't be creating any new additional drainage onto their properties.
And then at Nice and Temperance, I remember the drainage pattern said it wouldn't go into that home either, with a flood control district study and FID, all that, and her home was flooded. And so that's why,
That was the one Drew was talking about.
yeah, and so that, am I the only one worried? I don't know. Okay, and then, yeah, those are my other two, just the drainage, to follow up on Drew, and then the street upgrades, if there's none on the outside streets. How are they protected if there's no gutter even to there, so. Okay.
Well, and just final, this isn't this question, but in the honor of the folks that were here earlier, this is the street they're talking about. Fowler and Perrin. Traffic on Fowler, traffic on Sunnyside. We're not adjusting it because you all already live there. It's not, I know it's not germane, but it's the same neighborhood. So all this, the north side of the neighborhood will remain rural, no curbs, no gutters, no lights. This is where those kids were killed.
No, it was on Fowler.
Yeah.
This is Sunnyside.
Oh, this fell right here, sorry.
Yeah, so Fowler,
Fowler
no,
and Perrin.
Fowler's even further out that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
anyway,
it
but I mean,
doesn't
we're
show.
talking about that same stretch of road, I
Yeah.
guess. So we have to be mindful of that. Anyway, go ahead.
But just to be clear, so the north side of this Quail Run,
I'm new here.
the south side of Perrin, I would say, it will not be developed as well. It'll remain a rural street. And then I would say the east side of the neighborhood on Sunnyside will also remain as is.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead,
I
man.
just want to clarify, this is the same group of people that we agreed to annex into the city because of the Wilson project that was going in, and we'd met with them several times, and we talked about the 18 people and their residents. So, I mean, all the questions we're asking now, we probably should have asked way back then if it was going to be a major concern, at least, I mean, in my opinion, since we've already annexed them in. We've already asked them to come up with an agreement. They're willing to pay the difference of $57,000, and I think all 18 had to be in agreement to do that. Is that correct? All 18 residents have to come in and say, we're paying, regardless if they hook up or not, they're all going to be on the hook for 57 grand each for this to go forward, right?
Yes, per the annexation agreement.
So, and, I mean, the roadways out there are actually pretty good roads. They're actually wider than most of our city roads, so.
In their neighborhood?
In their neighborhood anyways, going back around through there and up to, I think it's Ticonderoga and then back out to Fowler, so.
Try to make sure they dotted all their i's,
Yes, I know.
crossed all their t's.
I know, no, and I get that, you know, the concerns and stuff that come with the, you know, taking on the roads, and it's different. But I also know this is a group of people that we've been working with for a couple years and have already said yes to annexing them in and having them sit with our city staffs and having them agree to pay the $57,000. So just my thought.
We're not gonna say no, just seems.
I have a follow-up.
Yes.
Everybody pays $57,000 whether they connect or not.
That's the water fee.
They pay the development impact fees upon connection. So if they don't pay the 57 now, that rate could go up when they decide to connect, but they don't pay until they connect.
Okay, because that's how I understood it. Nobody's on the hook if they don't connect.
Correct.
But all of that infrastructure that we're putting in, that is being put in, this is how much tax money from the city of Clovis goes into that. They're totally on the hook for it. Ratepayers aren't absorbing any of that cost, nor should they. So, all right, I just wanted to clarify that.
And if I may, Mayor, there are some fees that will be due up front. That's for the fire transition fee, the LAFCO fee, and they have to join our maintenance districts, both landscape and public safety.
Lynn, did you have another question?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. All right, at this time, any more questions? Okay, at this time, we're going to go ahead and open up the public portion. So anyone like to address the council on this item? Mr. Wathen.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Richard Wathen, and I live at 9431 North Purdue. I'm one of the 18 homeowners, and I'd just like to pause for a moment. It's been a 2-year journey. As all of you know, I want to thank your staff, and I mean that sincerely. They have been incredibly accommodating. I don't know how many meetings we've had, but they have been fantastic to work with. So Marissa and Sean and Renee and just your whole team. So I just wanted to mention that. I want to thank all of you for your time. I think we've met with all of you a few times, and I think we're hopefully at the finish line here. But just to clarify a couple things, we did want to bring to the council 2 issues tonight. You've talked about the first one quite extensively, and so I'd like to address that. And then Jared's going to come up and talk a little bit about some of the fees that are being proposed. So in working with Sean in just engineering, we also realized the dilemma of not having laterals and lines brought to the property, and then ultimately people having to tear up the streets when they do want to hook into water. Again, clarifying for a moment, we're the ones responsible for installing the entire water line. It's $600,000 or $700,000 is our estimate. So we are paying for that as a homeowner group. And then again, in terms of the fees, that's only when you hook up. We've kind of polled our neighborhood. We think 10 or 11 are going to hook up day one, so that's easy. We'll put the laterals in, we'll put the laterals, bring it to the property, we'll set the meters, pay the fees, and we'll move forward. But we also know that not everyone has the same water situation or the same financial capacity. So we do anticipate that whether it be 2 years from now when their water gets worse, or when they financially feel like, hey, this is something we want to do, that is a reality. We've talked with staff for over a year thinking, is there any way we can at least get the laterals in now? That means that you set meters and potentially you can pirate water. You can probably dig around in meters and pirate water anywhere in the city of Clovis, but that's one of the things we wanted to bring to the council. Is there any way possible we can get those laterals installed day one so nobody's digging into the street, whether you set meters or don't, whether you set control boxes or cap things or lock them down or even monitor them? It just makes so much more sense to do the work while we have the streets torn up one time. Again, we are paying for all of it. We're paying for the laterals, we're paying for the meters. And so I'm hoping we can find a way to do that. Again, it's at our expense, but to me, it doesn't make any sense at all to ask people to dig into your streets and go through that. That would be difficult, expensive, and really not what I think any homeowner would want to take on. So that's one of our requests tonight, that we could talk about this and see if we can find a different way.
You had a second issue, did you?
Jared's going to come
okay.
up and bring that.
Okay, you have two issues, so.
Any other questions about that while I'm
Any
up here?
questions?
We're here, so.
Go ahead.
We've talked about this previously, and I remember, I think it was Luke Serpa. I believe it was the Woodside development at Teague and Fowler. There were a lot of questions from some of the county residents about, hey, can we cut into your water? And there was a reason that we couldn't put laterals in because it basically fallows water, and there's a disease thing. Could you elaborate on that? I understood it, but
Yeah, so
I forgot it.
Yeah, so what happens is the water service is just there, and the water sits in it. It's a dead line, so there's risk of contamination issues. And a lot of times, there's times where these services will sit and be unused for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And then there's no way to kind of blow those off. So if we did allow something like that, we would want to do it in a manner where we could actually take that water and do some kind of blow off where we change that water out regularly. And then again, that would be staff time, and that would be for a service that isn't being paid for. So those are the issues with with trying to install those services early.
And maybe I'm being simplistic. Could we put several laterals in, plumb up fire hydrants so that the water's on the outside of the street? And then if they want to hook in later, then it's on them they're going to have to cut through some easement to get there, but at least we're not cutting the road. Has anybody considered that? I mean, it does kill two birds with one stone. It does improve the fire safety, and it keeps people from not having to cut the road up.
Well, you have property owners on both sides of the street, so it doesn't matter where you put that water main, you're gonna be cutting across the road for at least half of the lots. So you're gonna be cutting into that street no matter what.
My thought is, if you have one that goes east and one that goes west, you have a fire hydrant here, a fire hydrant here, then if the people 2 houses up need to cut in, then they have to pay to come down the easement, not the road, to hook into that water source. I'm looking at this from a layman's perspective, but hoses are hoses.
So I'm trying to figure out exactly what you're saying. So I'll just explain what they need to do. They need to create a loop system that goes from Perrin all the way around to Sunnyside and back up to Perrin again. And there has to be a full main water line.
Right.
And they have to pull off that main water line. And if you put the main on one side of the street, you're still going to have to go across the street at some point. And we, as a city, we like to do those as direct lines from the water meter, so you can tell exactly where those lines are at. They're easier to track that way. If you start zigzagging all over the place, it's very hard for the city to track a service and know where issues might happen. Plus, you're going to end up with longer service, and you end up with more issues that potentially could arise from having a longer service as far as breakages go.
But wouldn't that be the liability would be on them for that, not us?
The city's always involved when it comes to
Of
stuff
course.
like that, yeah. So, and they would always need assistance from the city to figure out if it is their side of it or our side. So,
we deal with this issue with the water meters now.
Yeah.
We have water meters that fail. We have people come out and they look and they go, yeah, that's on your side of the water meter, that's on you, this is on our side, it's on us. I'm actually pretty good at irrigation, and I know that you gotta put a bigger line in the event that you're gonna put more water out there. I'm just thinking this would resolve some of this anyway, but I defer to the engineers, but sometimes, is this not common sense?
So I think what you're saying is to install a lot more of a lot more infrastructure that would add to the cost of the development. The cost of the hydrant would also have to be borne by the 18 homes. So that would just increase cost, and it would increase kind of locations where leaks can happen every time we're cutting into pipes. So we like to minimize that with one point of service for each.
But they would
for
pay
each
for
one.
that.
Yeah, they would.
The cost of all this would be borne by them,
Mhm.
and would it not be significantly cheaper? I mean, hypothetically, if the water is at the end of the street, at a fire hydrant, they don't have to cut the road. All they got to do is basically trench it. They don't have to, and fill it back in with dirt. I mean, granted, there could be sewer line, of course, there's no sewer lines.
There's no sewer lines.
I'm
It's
just thinking that this might,
Oh, I'm sorry.
this might be something that would work for them. I mean, but this is going to be the problem we're going to have with other areas when we come in there and when we come up with a policy now.
Yeah, we can look into any kind of design, like with the 18 homes as they submit plans for approvals. But for this evening, I'm not sure if we can decide on that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I realize I'm throwing a curve at you at the last second. If we go forward with this, I probably would put that as a caveat that staff needs to look at this and report back to us. That's all I have.
And is that exactly the reason why we are not installing the laterals, what you just said? Or is there other reasons why what Mr. Wathen suggests to put all the laterals in? Is there something else?
Well, it's the dead water in the line that allows for contamination. And then as we extend these services to homes or to locations where there is no use for a long period of time and they're unmonitored because we're not attending to these services, then there's the chance for unauthorized use or leaks that aren't identified in a timely manner. And it's just additional maintenance stuff. And then for us to address it, we would have to install a meter and then put it on a route and then regularly monitor it. And it's for a service that isn't paying for any services.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Wathen from us? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wathen.
Thank you very much. My name is Jared Collister, 9318 North Sunnyside, and part of the Quail Run Group. Again, I want to echo Rich's comments, thanking the City Council and the city staff for all their help and attention. It's been a long road to get this far, and we appreciate everyone's help and input on this. I just want to bring just one thing to the council's attention. I know we talked about it a little bit. We just want to point out that under this annexation agreement, there's a lot of stuff we're absorbing as homeowners. We got to improve the roads to city standards. We've got to pay some extra annual fees for Clovis PD, for Clovis Fire. We've had to assume, tens of thousands for this CAL FIRE transition fee. We had to pay our annexation fee to even get in front of the city council. We're going to have to pay the LAFCO fee. And the point of all this is to try to get water into our neighborhood. We've got to bring the water, we've got to pay for all the construction, the improvements, the trenching, the piping, all that. That's just to get it in the road, and we got to pay for the laterals, and that's just to have it at the edge of your house. And then you've got to pay to trench from the property line to your main line and do all that, which is who knows how much that'll be. So these are significant costs that we're bearing just to try to get water in our community. And one big cost of this, which has been mentioned, is the hookup fee. And that's just the fee just to turn the key, right? That's just the fee to say, I want to get access. That's not trenching, that's not development, that's not improvement, that's reimbursing the city for certain costs that they have for your improvement. I understand that. And as the estimate shows, it's around $58,000 per parcel or per unit. So you factor in $58,000 per unit plus the construction costs, plus the annexation fees. I mean, we've already spent a lot of money to this point, a lot of time and energy. And it's, you know, you're willing to pay a lot of money to have running water in your house, so that's why we're here. But our request is that at least the city council consider the possibility of reducing or waiving some part of this fee, because it is a huge economic burden to pay, you know, $58,000 to just for the right to access water when you've already paid for, you know, the city's not paying for the improvements, we've done the roads. I mean, we're paying a lot, we're not asking for a handout, you know, we're financing a lot of this stuff on ourselves, but we want to ask the city council to at least consider that and to maybe invite the planning department to kind of think of ways to manage this. Legally, I'm not sure what's required to do this, to be honest with you, so we're glad to have the city attorney here, but we just want to raise this as an issue to think about. I know there's concerns about setting a precedent, right? Is everyone going to ask for a city waiver? I'm going to be honest with you. I know there's people that want water in the area, that have a little water. I would be very surprised if you get another group of homeowners that are as focused, dedicated. Well, we have 2 developers in the group. I mean, that's just, the stars aligned here. I don't think you're going to have every weekend a new group showing up to try to get annexed into the city for water. It's a lot of different moving parts. And again, if 10 years from now, there's another group that shows up, I mean, what's a precedent? We change stuff all the time. We change zoning, we change general plans, we have all sorts of amendments to things as circumstances change. But at least in this case, we've done a lot of groundwork. We think it's a fair request. We're not trying to put the city out any funds, but we'd like to have some accommodation. It's, again, this is not a formal request in writing at this point in time. We just kind of wanted to plant the seed so that we can work with the city planners to come up with a better way to make this formal request down the road. And I appreciate your time and attention to this matter, and happy to address any questions you guys might have.
Any questions? Go ahead, Jim.
Actually, I do have a question. What's the estimate dollar amount that a homeowner has to pay for all of this to come to fruition with the $57,000 fee? I mean, the
I'm looking at
pipeline,
Rich. We're still getting some we're getting some quotes still. Rich, is you might have a better grasp of where we are on this.
a ballpark is fine.
Yeah.
I'm,
Just the construction cost of the main water is about $600,000 to $700,000.
I'm sorry, how much?
600.
Okay, and that's split up 18 ways?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Collister?
I hear what you're saying, and you can only, if you have to ask for the help, and if you get told no, at least you asked. But from my perspective, if we give any kind of variance to this group, some of that cost is going to be borne by the ratepayers who are going to say, they wanted to marry us, and now they don't want to pay, they don't want to buy the rent. They don't want to buy the total rent. And that's, from my perspective, that's the deal. You guys came to us, we met with you, our staff has met with you. We didn't ask you to be annexed, you asked for us to annex you. I understand the cost of it, but I also understand people in that area who don't have a stable water source, who are worried about, people having to put in, because their fire insurance, they're having to put in ponding basins or water sources in their house because there's no water, there's no stable water source or hydrants there. So I think all in all, it's easier for me to say because it's not my money. The benefit outweighs the financial risk that you're going to have to take. And I'm just not willing to give any variance for the water or the costs, but that I'm just one voice. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Collister. Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to address the council? Yeah.
Brian Wilson, 469 Bergen. This is precedent setting. Has it happened before in the city? I don't believe so. So this would be almost like having Fresno, I think Fresno services Tarpey Village. I'm not sure who that is, but I think it's Fresno. And that's the same program that you would have there. You got water going to the spot, that's where it's going to stop. So roads will deteriorate, all that kind of stuff. So I would say just be careful, because there's a lot of rural residential being brought close to our sphere of influence. They'll be asking for similar things for the water. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Anyone else like to address the council? Okay, seeing none, we're going to close the public portion, bring it back to the council for further discussion, or we are ready for a motion. We can entertain that as well. Any other questions for the staff? Okay.
I'll make a motion then.
Okay.
Make a motion to authorize the city manager, oh, wait a second, wrong one. Oops. Wrong one. Make another promotion, sorry, wrong page. To consider approval, a resolution of the city council approving an addendum to the environmental impact report adopted for Shepherd North for the Quail Run annexation.
Second.
Okay, we have motion second on the floor. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Item B, 16B, a resolution of the city council approving an application for the annexation of the territory known as the Perrin Sunnyside Southeast Reorganization Area, 40.62 acres.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Any further discussion?
Just to be, Drew, your comments, is that the next item?
I think, yeah.
Okay, that's what I was like trying to make sure I was on the right, yeah, okay. Proceed, sorry.
Okay. We have a motion second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
16C, an ordinance of the city council approving a request to prezone the properties within the Quail Run neighborhood from the Fresno County RR Rural Residential Zone District to the Clovis RR Rural Residential Zone District.
We have a motion. We get a second?
Can I add an addendum to that? That we ask staff to report back to us on creating either a policy or some type of agreement where we are able to put the laterals out to the curb line on both sides, put a fire hydrant in, and have the ability to hook into that line for the residences on the either side of the street, so that we don't have to cut the street 5 times during the life of people deciding to come in. And I realize it's going to take some engineering work, but I think we need to have a policy, because we're going to see this again. So let me shorten that.
Okay.
That's the longest motion
I know.
ever.
Staff will report back on the feasibility of laterals being put in at time of construction.
Okay. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Then, okay.
Just a
Addition-
discussion point on that. I think the cost savings could come there. I mean, I think there's ways to save money in some of this process. If we could figure that out, then you would get relief on the total bill, it seems to me. So I think that's the right way to go. And then just a point of record, you heard, I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about lighting, but just you'll make sure that those things are included in the agreement, or to make sure we're all good on the basics of local government, how we get out there, all of that.
We
Just
can
make sure.
assess for safety, any of those core issues.
Yeah, I just think that's it. But I do think there could be some cost savings, and I think there's got to be a way to do it, once.
And if we had some flexibility on ways to either put laterals in or through different design, achieve the not cutting of the streets, we'd appreciate those options at the availability of staff.
And the fire department does flush those fire hydrants, so it would probably mitigate the standing water at the end of the line, but I'm not a fireman either.
Okay.
I think that, and I think, also, I guess, ways to protect against people stealing the water, to your point. So is there ways to build in protection that I certainly don't know, and maybe you don't know either, but I think those are the things that could reduce the overall cost, which I think is partly what you're trying to get at. So
Okay.
there's a second somewhere in there.
No second yet, but
Oh, I
the
thought he was
motion is
second.
clear.
I have a
Yeah,
motion.
and then that was an addendum. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay,
Yeah.
a motion and second now. Any further discussion? Okay. I just wanted to say with regards to the annexation that we do really consider the consequences of annexing into the city, but yet not having city standards and how that will affect us in the future. Because I know that this sets precedent. They only want water, but there's all these other concerns that are very critical to how the liability will come to us. And so I know that the staff, I think you worked really hard and struggled to get to where we're at, but then all these concerns, I think, are something you're very concerned with as well. So we have a motion, a second. Any other discussion on this? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move now to administrative item 17. Authorize the city manager to enter into an agreement with Wildan Financial Services, the amount of $131,520, $131,520 for the review of the update of the city's development impact fee program. Staff on this is Sean Smith, our deputy city engineer, and Tatiana Partain. Okay, management analyst.
Hi there. Good evening, council members, mayor. My name is Tatiana Partain. I am a management analyst for the Planning and Development Services Department. I work with the engineering group and I do the contracting, which is why I'm here this evening. Besides me is Sean Smith, deputy city engineer, as well as the project manager on this project in particular. And then on the phone, we do have two members from the Wildan financial team. They are James Edison and Carlos Villarreal. They are currently muted, but they will be available at the end of the presentation for questions. Next slide. So about a year ago, council asked staff to relook and explore what an in-depth analysis of the current development impact fees, or DIFs as we like to call them, would look like. After some internal discussion, we felt it would be best to go ahead and get an outside consultant on board to perform this work. And in May of 2025, staff informed council that they were currently in the final stages of an RFP, which would be ready for publication in the coming months. It did take a little bit longer, next slide please, to publish. It was actually published on August 18th. Good things come to those who wait. It was a two-phase project that was developed by staff, and the phases were broken out with one, let's look at everything. Let's bring everything on the table, do an in-depth analysis of what we currently have in place. Phase 2, at the very bare minimum, we would do the major facilities fee program. So looking at sewer and water, update all the nexus studies, as well as bring on some staff training and some updated maps and self-servicing tools that we have been asked by the development community. This approach allows the water and sewer fee programs to remain front and center, but then what would come on as well would be an optional reevaluation of the other current fee areas, as well as possible recommendations for revisions to those programs. Next slide. So this approach, the reason why staff decided upon it was that it would be more cost effective to do it this way. It keeps everything on a singular timeline. It allows our DIFs program to remain defensible. It also will allow us to keep up with industry standards as well as our community needs. And it also memorializes all the findings at one time. So next slide. It closed on September 23rd, pardon me. And we did receive one proposal, which was with Wildan, who were here recommending the council award the contract to. Staff did consult with the city attorney's office as if we could go ahead and move forward and what the best course of action. It was determined why not. The proposal we received was complete, and this firm is very well versed in this realm. And after the interview, we felt very confident with the team and the fact that they were going to be very experienced in the realm of DIFs, as well as be able to complete this project not only to the satisfaction, not only on time, but to the satisfaction of the city. So the members that are actually on the phone are the members that I have listed here. So we have James Edison, who will serve as principal in charge. He brings to the table over 27 years of experience in both private and public sector. He has worked on a variety of projects in similar nature, and he's also very well versed in the legal requirements of the DIF programs. Then Carlos Villarreal is the project manager. He possesses 19 years of experience. He is experienced in documenting Nexus findings as well as analyzing the economic impacts of the various fee programs. He's also very familiar with the city of Clovis as he has worked with us before. It was back in about 2015, 2016 at the conclusion of the last general plan update when we performed the city's sewer master plan update. So tonight, we are here seeking approval for the contract. What would happen next is I would go ahead and finalize should it be approved this evening, I should say. I would go ahead and move forward with the finalization of the agreement with Willdan. We would start to coordinate a project kickoff meeting and issue a notice to proceed for January 2026, after which staff would begin to form internal and external project teams. The external teams would consist of various stakeholder groups, both the BIA and developers outside the BIA, including various commercial developers and basically any community member that would be interested in participating. Roughly, we have over 200 contacts to date to reach out, so it's going to be some work for us. The internal team will start with planning and development services, public utilities, and city administration, as well as the city attorney's office. And then depending on, he's so excited, and then depending on the findings of phase one, we might need to bring in other members from various city departments. As a part of the project, I want council to rest assured that we will have 10 in-person meetings with the Willdan team. Those will be at staff, with stakeholders, and even in front of council. Should the meeting kick off as planned, or the project kick off as planned, we will probably be back in front of council sometime between June, July, based on the project schedule, to present the findings of phase one, and then possibly seek approval on what to do in regards to phase two. We anticipate the project will take approximately 12 months and can conclude at the end of this year, possibly January 2027. As part of the RFP, we did put in there that we would like the consultant to potentially remain on board for up to 3 years after the project's conclusion. And this is because we are going through the general plan update, and it would also allow staff to work alongside the consultant with the various updates, annual updates. So again, we are here to ask for authorization for the city manager to enter into an agreement with Willdan Financial Services in the amount of $131,520 for the review and update of the city's development impact fee program. With that, if there's any questions, I am available, or Sean, or Willdan.
Any questions of the staff? Okay.
I was just going to make a comment. Thank you for your presentation. I think the part where you talk about producing a program that's both updated and allows for future growth, future considerations, future things we may not see, I think is the deal. Because we don't need to do this every time we update these fees, but I think trying to imagine if there's something we don't see or don't know. So I just wanted to call out that, and I appreciate that as an objective of the study for the work.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
So they will look at all the fees, not just sewer and water, and then they will really dig into the nexus, because I think that was sort of what happened last time with the water. So nexus meaning the proximity, but also time. So if we might need a sewer treatment plant 20 years, can we charge them in year one? In other words, or is it up to year 15 we can charge? All that as well?
Everything's on the table.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that they get everything that we've been concerned with. So I appreciate the point you said where that it'll be defensible, because I think that's important for us. And how engaged will the industry be, or they will only look at it at the final product?
Our plan is to bring them alongside. We're not going to do this behind a curtain or in a back room by any means. That's why the 10-person meetings I think were so important, is because at the bare minimum, we can get everybody in this room or a room of some size together and make these discussions. Now, with us and city staff, I think I'll defer to Sean as the project manager for that.
Yeah, if I could just add one thing, sorry. We do feel that they are defensible already. We hope that they remain defensible. Okay. So we just want to make sure there's nothing that we've overlooked And that's a key thing that they're going to bring to this. And yes, and as Tatiana said, we plan to be very engaged with anybody who's interested. We're going to email over 200 people, and whoever wants to meet, if we need a council chamber, if we need a school, if we just need something more intimate, whatever the size of the panel dictates is what the meetings will be.
Okay.
And wherever those questions go, we'll make sure we hear them out and incorporate them with Wildan and ask for their expertise, because they've done this in many different areas, many different ways, and we feel they bring a lot of value to this project.
And then will we also be looking at the fees with regards to commercial, or is it just residential? Because sometimes when we talk about fees, we concentrate a lot on residential, and there's not a lot of expertise on my part at least, but also, discussion on how our fees there. Will it break it down later on too?
It's the whole gamut. We're going to look at the nuts and the bolts of the fee program, the legal nexus, and then how it's divided between all the different land uses, residential, retail, office, you name it. And
So hopefully-
it's a blank slate. If we need more fee categories, if we need less, if we need more complex, if we need simpler, that's what we're really looking to Wildan, because like I said, they've developed these from scratch. They've helped other cities evaluate their programs as well. And everybody that we've talked to have just sung their praises. They've been very responsive and very appreciative of their work. So we think we're going to get a lot of value out of this effort.
And I would just ask that some commercial stakeholders are included, because I look at the future of just us and talking about general plan updates and all that. If we don't improve sort of the economic development where it attracts, and whether it's our fees, whatever it is, that we may lose out if we don't include them, so that way they give insight and feedback on that component of it. The BIA does a great job with regards to residential building, and they contest the fees, but we never have engagement from the commercial, yet the commercial, our fees are higher than Fresno. And so I just wanted to get that in there. Okay.
You mean commercial and industrial?
Yeah, and industrial.
So I think
everything.
that's a super
some
good point.
economic,
For the job
development.
creation part of the equation.
Yeah, they'll definitely be invited. I'll make a note to make a special effort to try and, please reach out to them even more.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Steve?
Well, I know
Go
that,
ahead.
I'm sorry, the
Go ahead,
GPAC
Matt.
has people like that, so I mean, you might be able to kind of knit that together in some way, but I know that was the focus going into the GPAC, so just, there might be a nexus, sorry.
Good point.
That's what I was gonna say.
I
I was
knew
gonna
that.
ask if that was
I could
tied
feel
in
that.
with the general plan update, so never mind.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, seeing that, we're going to go and open up the public portion. Any comments from the public? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back, and what's the pleasure of the council?
I'll make a motion that we, lost it, quick. Authorize the city manager to enter into an agreement, same problem you had with Wildan, to review and update the city's development impact fees.
We have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, move now to, thank you very much. Move now to item 18, and consider approval of the 2024-2025 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. And staff on this is our Finance Director, Jay. Go ahead, Jay.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I was asking Mr. Brandini if he wanted to come up here and join me tonight for he declined. So just before we get started here, I want to take a couple points. One, we have the auditors on the line if you do have any questions that I or my staff can't answer. Second, the act for this year is 168 pages. It's highly technical. It's super sophisticated, and without my team behind me, right there, this wouldn't be possible. So I just want to take a moment and thank them. About 25% of our auditors' clients draft their own financial statements. So we are in the minority in the ability to even draft the financial statements. The auditors help on all 75% of their clients build the act first. So, I mean, that says something in itself, that we are large enough and technical enough that we can even build the document ourselves. So I'm very proud of that. So with that, a couple things. We have a clean bill of health from our auditors for the fiscal year end June 30th, 2025. The City of Clovis received an unqualified or clean opinion, the highest level of assurance from our independent auditors, the Poon Group, which I mentioned they are on the phone. And there were no audit findings this year whatsoever. In addition, the Government Finance Officers Association, or GFOA, has once again awarded Clovis a Certificate of Achievement of Excellence. This is our 37th year in a row receiving this honor, a testament to our longstanding commitment to transparent and responsible financial management. So financial snapshot as of June 30th, 2025. Clovis is in a strong financial position. Our net worth, or what we own versus what we owe, is $1.1 billion. That's a 6% from last year, indicating a strong and improving financial position. Most of this is in infrastructure. So where does our funding come from? So the city has several income streams. The biggest, of course, grants and contributions, property taxes on homes and businesses, and the sales tax we pay in stores. This last year, property taxes represented about 22% of the revenues, sales tax approximately 20%. Those numbers will change this next year due to Measure Y, which I'll get into. So if we look a little closer at the tax dollars this year, we had a total of $87 million. Approximately $42 million was property taxes, $29 million in sales tax, our traditional Bradley Burns, $7.2 million in the new Measure Y, hotel taxes of 5.4, and rounding out franchise tax with 3.2. So for the folks in the room, what is Measure Y? It's the $7 million increase in sales tax revenue this year is due to the new voter-approved Measure Y sales tax. These funds are focused on public safety, clean communities, and street repairs. The $7 million this year represents approximately 25% of a fiscal year. So Clovis is investing in what matters most. Our budget reflects our community's priorities. Nearly 2/3 of every dollar from our general fund is invested directly into keeping Clovis a safe place to live, work, and raise a family. Noted on this graph is public safety, which is police and fire. That represents 64% of the total governmental expenditures, or $87 million. But as we've mentioned before, that represents 83% of the discretionary revenues, the dollars that you can direct us where to spend them. We also invest in our quality of life. Beyond safety, we fund the things that make Clovis a great place to live. So we spent $21 million investing in improving our streets and road network. We spent $11 million dedicated to our parks, recreation activities, and cultural events. And lastly, we spent $14.5 million to fund the administrative functions that support all city services. So to take a look at the general fund balance, basically our savings account, the combined general fund of $34 million, and the new Measure Y is $7.2 million. So in that pot of funding, there's three categories. The first one is the restricted. These are legally limited to specific purposes, such as our landscape maintenance district, or LMD. And then assigned, those are monies that City Council has intentionally set aside. So the bulk of that money is the emergency reserve. As part of the assigned funds, this is the city's rainy day fund reserved for major catastrophic events or significant economic downturns. And lastly, we have the unassigned funds of $8.2 million. These are the flexible funds going forward that basically majority of that money is Measure Y. This 8.2 is approximately 600,000 higher than what we thought when we prepared the budget in revenues and expenses. So we do have some city services that pay for themselves. So city utilities like water, sewer, and community sanitation run as sustaining businesses. These services come from fees paid by customers, not from general tax dollars. And 81% of the funding from these come directly from charges for services. The total for the business type revenues was $128 million. So in closing, Clovis is financially strong, responsibly managed, and ready for the future. We have a solid foundation of our $1.1 billion net worth provides stability. We prioritize public safety and deliver essential services efficiently. We are building the roads, parks, and infrastructure for the next generation. In closing, the city of Clovis remains on solid economic footing, committed to the financial health and vibrant future of our community. And with that, I'm open for any questions.
Any questions of the staff on it? Okay. Anyone in the public like to address the council on the report?
He does want to really do it again.
Mike Brandini, 2062 Alamos, Clovis, former finance director. And I was looking at I just want to see how things have changed over the years. So I grabbed a copy got a copy from finance on the CAFR. And I noticed in the general fund revenues was close to $120 million. When I started as finance director over 50 years ago, we were ecstatic when the general fund revenue exceeded $1 million. Things have changed. City has grown, and I think Jay commented, 37 years of continued excellence in financial reporting, which goes a long way to help the city when they go out to do anything. They borrow money, they enter contracts, whatever. This shows that the city is financially stable, well-run. And I think I'm not correct, you can correct me, Jay. This document looks an awful lot like what Jamie Hewson and Rob Woolley put together over 37 years ago. Yeah, and you probably have got some spreadsheets that have got all kinds of interconnections, right?
Very true.
So you had two former finance directors and a former city manager who was the finance director and my assistant way back when this thing was set up. And they put a lot of effort in it. And I know what you guys have to do to keep it going. So I want to compliment the city staff on keeping this thing rolling, because it is very important to the city that you project an image of financial responsibility, and this proves it. So thank you.
That's nice.
Thank you, Mike.
50 years ago.
Anyone else like to address the council? Okay, seeing none, we'll close that public portion. If there are any questions, comments, if not, we entertain a
I
motion.
wanted to just make one comment, and I just wanted to thank Jay and the entire finance team, because I know that as we considered all of the ramifications of Measure Y, and we made certain requests about maintaining the transparency and accountability of our stewardship of those dollars with the community, that really put the burden on you guys to help us do that. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that and thank you for taking that and being so responsive to our requests and our desire to be that way with the community. Again, knowing you guys were the ones who had to make sure that we were able to make good on those promises to the community. So thank you so much for the extra effort that you guys put in to make that happen.
And I was just going to also give you a shout out. Over all these years, I have always sort of fussed when we don't have a single look on our PowerPoint slides. Your department looks like one, fire looks like another. Sometimes, I don't know, I thought this was probably the nicest looking presentation I've seen. So it was consistent, there were clear, so just out of really kind of seems small, what's in it is really important, but how it looks, I just want to give you compliments on that, because I think it's really one of the nicer that I've seen. So thank you for
Thank you
doing
for the
that.
feedback.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Congratulations on 37 years.
Yeah,
And
really.
then also, it's good to see that the auditors found nothing. That's very encouraging. So
Never do.
great job to the entire staff and to all the departments.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 2024-25 annual comprehensive financial report.
Motion, we have a
Second.
second? Okay, motion second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we move to city manager comments.
Thank
Andy.
you, Mayor.
Mhm.
So just wanted to highlight on just Saturday, January 3rd, I think this came up at the last meeting, that there's the Celebrating the American Spirit, the Long American Friendship Day at the Clovis Veterans Memorial District. So come on out for that. And then we also have a public meeting this coming Wednesday on our draft water rate study here in council chambers. So I just wanted to highlight that. One other quick thing, we were able to present the Measure Y findings to the Measure Y Oversight Committee this last week, and it went well, and they'll be coming back with a report to you early next year. I'll turn it back to you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. City council comments. Councilmember Basco.
Just a couple of things. I went to the North Kings water meeting last week for this month, and there was nothing new to report other than we had one wet month and we haven't had anything since, so they're just kind of waiting to see where that's going to go as far as water predictions for the future. Right now, everything looks okay, but the next month they should have a more clear pathway as to what we're looking at. I was in the Christmas parade. It was done very well, again, as normal for everybody in the city who participated in that and put that together. Chad and Brianna and the Youth Commission and everything, they seemed to have a good time going in the trolley. Again, it was a huge success. There was a lot of people out there. As always, the streets were packed with people, 4 and 5 deep on the sidewalk, especially going down Pulaski. So thank you to all the Clovis citizens for coming out and participating in that. It's a big deal, and they showed up. And I did the Toys for Tot run on Saturday, and that's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Bessinger.
And while everybody was at the Christmas parade in Clovis, I was in Munich at and in like 5 other cities at the Christmas markets in Germany. And as we give each other gifts when we leave the state, it's a requirement, I guess. I don't know. One of the things I noticed is that because of the violence they've had with people with vehicles trying to run people down, which has happened in Germany and in France, a very highly planned protection program with vehicle barriers and all of the and a lot of police presence has been put in Germany, very similar to what we already do here in Clovis. If you go to one of our events, there's our larger events, we're going to have solid waste vehicles, school buses, blocking the streets to keep somebody from running through and doing that and making our community safe. It's very important. But other than that, I enjoyed myself, and I think Lynn has an idea that I'm happy about. That's all I have. and Frohe Weihnachten. Merry Christmas.
Okay. Councilmember Ashbrook.
Well, I'll start with the fun idea, and then I'll talk about FCTA. No, I'm just kidding. So while you were doing the Christmas parade, I was in Victoria, Canada, but didn't failed on the souvenir on this trip. But Victoria is just a phenomenal city. I've never been there before. And they have made a tourism niche around Christmas. And so they're trying to market themselves as sort of the Christmas market on the West Coast. And literally, they've done it all with Christmas lights. Honestly, they have Christmas lights on everything, on every outline of every building, of all the ships in the harbor, on every street pole. It's kind of amazing. So I got to thinking about, well, we love Christmas in Clovis, and I wonder I told Sean, he probably left. He didn't want to hear my idea. Where'd he go? Sean gone? Oh, man. Okay, tell him he's in charge of this. But I just thought from a tourism, attracting visitors to the city, what would happen if Clovis tried to create Clovis Christmas markets? And we have a sister city relationship burgeoning with Drew. But if we put Christmas lights on the 12 miles of the Clovis trails as a signature in our town, that all of our trails were lit with Christmas lights, and then we did some kind of a Clovis Christmas market with Boot, it would be another reason for people to come to downtown Clovis to spend money during Christmas, and we could pull it off. We're the only place that could pull it off in the valley. So I was just inspired by Victoria. I thought it was the most amazing city. It was not unlike Clovis. They could describe their history. They knew why the store had been there since 1865. So I loved all of that. But I just thought from maybe an opportunity, we do all the big hat days. I get all that, but we don't really do a Christmas market idea. They're kind of popular right now. This is closer than Germany. The food is way better here, I'm just saying. Drew posted pictures of food that I'm sure wasn't really food, but I'm not sure what, I'm just kidding. But anyway, so it would be fun to check it out with Boot, because I think we could have a signature that says Clovis is really unique, and I can just imagine 12 miles of Christmas lights. Okay, maybe we don't get all 12 at first, but I think it'd be really fun. I think people would love coming here. So anyway, that was my inspiration in my 4-day trip to Victoria, but we can duplicate that here, and we've got a German Christmas market expert down there to help us out. And I think Boot would love it, and I think it'd be great for the city.
And Cambria already does a
Yep, they
version of
do.
this.
They do.
And maybe we could grab some of the merchants there
Yep,
and reinvent the wheel
Yep.
here.
yep.
And I think economically it'd be great. I think it would put us on the map in the
Yep,
valley.
totally.
And I totally support this.
Okay, so.
And I probably have people who can help.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it on the rodeo grounds, you could do it in Old Town. I mean, there's just a lot of things, but it could be another signature for Clovis. And I just think we could do it better than any of those other cities. But anyway, so there's my fun idea, so I think that'd be fun. Okay, so there's enough of that. I did go to FCTA on December, it was a long time ago, 10th. And really the only action was the appointment of Moses Stites as the executive director of FCTA. So that, his appointment was made official. I wondered about that issue with the families. That was December 9th, 2024, when we had that workshop in here with the county. And I don't know if we want to revisit that, but I feel like we lose that every now and then. So I don't know how to keep that in front of us, but I mean, that woman did stop writing to me because all I kept saying was, we're working on it, we're trying, we haven't forgotten, but that is really so, there's nothing that's going to satisfy after losing your child. I get that. But anyway, I just wondered, I know you're working with Paul Nerlin, but I feel like there's something we might be able to do with that. So anyway, I don't want to lose that. So that's it. FCTA, Christmas in Clovis. That's it. Thanks.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, on December 5th, in the mayor's absence, I attended a graduation celebration for Valley Build and Greater Sierra Forestry Corps, and it was a really fantastic deal. It's through the workforce development, and a couple things about it. It's inspiring because one of the things I remember vividly from knocking on doors when I was campaigning and talking to parents specifically, but the families here in our community, was, what are our kids going to be able to do? What are the job opportunities to keep them local? And so these programs are great opportunities to give our young people incredible skills. And so this is like a pre-apprenticeship program for the trades, and they just do a phenomenal job with it. And now adding forestry to it as well was something that the workforce development team recognized as a need in the region, and were able to fill that need. And so just a shout out to them and the great work that they do. And it was really great to be able to be there on behalf of the city to acknowledge the accomplishment of those young people in completing those programs. And the city provided certificates for each of the graduates. And so it was my honor and privilege to be there for that. Other than that, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, everyone. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Went to several ribbon cuttings, Reborn Brewing. I think one neat one is Sushi Box. It's a sushi concept. Came to where Crumble Cookie, Blaze Pizza. And so it's the first in the United States. Okay, and Jason Lynn, his family brought it there. So he's the owner of Roly Roly and what is it? Lynn's Fusion and Ramen Hayashi, Caddy Corner there. And so young guy, he just brought that to us. And so that's pretty cool. Also, Twins Bar came in down in Old Town. And so that's that ribbon cutting there. It's a bar. Reborn is the brewery. And then went to the Asian Student Success. So thank you to all the departments that came out to just be mentors out there. And then congratulations to our 4 new firefighters. I'll say it that way. That way it gets all the gender in there. And so thank you, Chief, for inviting us. And so it's exciting to see, how great these group of 4 were. I mean, probably one of the best according to the captains who led the training. And so congratulations to them. And let me see, I want to thank the staff for putting on those 4 Meet the Mayor sessions. We intentionally made December 3rd just Hmong focus. And so, but we got Caucasians there too. So, but it was Hmong focus. And we filled pretty much the room, and then got to get them to just do the survey. And so got them. And then on the 10th, it was Indian focus and pretty much the same size crowd, pretty much filled this entire room. And so got them to also do the survey with regards to the national model. And so hopefully that'll give us a lot of insight. And thank the staff for being there and for advertising, getting them out. What I say, on January 3rd, I wanted to just invite the entire city and also, I know Andy put the flyer up, but to the council. This is now being put as the first city in California to recognize and welcome the Hmong community. And so the community is excited. They're going to come out. The Memorial District is donating the entire facility. There'll be a lot of displays of sort of the journey to America. There'll be Asian cultural performances. And so on the city is part of that. So just to give sort of what's going to happen is the Hmong community, and it's veteran-led because it was just us participating in the war. The Hmong community will be walking from the museum, and we as the council, along with the Clovis Unified School Board, and along with the Veterans Memorial District Board, will be waiting for them to come because on January 3rd, 1961 was when Colonel Bill Lair met with then Colonel General Vang Pao and shook hands and said, "We will fight to defend Laos from falling into communism." So it's 65 years, so it fit that date, sort of symbolic. So the community will come, they will join, and our veterans group are gonna join with those individuals, walk to us, and then we'll have a handshake, ribbon cutting, go inside, and then have a ceremony just to recognize and appreciate sort of Hmong being here 50 years. And so this is sort of started with Lorenzo, the veterans groups. And so I encourage all the staff to be there, the city manager and also the rest of the council to be there because we are on the flyer as part of it. And the school district is on board. They're inviting all the students and all the clubs and getting their board there as well. And then we will have a youth commissioner give part of the speech as well. So I'm going to work with Brianna to find someone to speak on behalf of sort of the youth voice. And then Chad and them are creating a video right now. So the three organizations are creating a video just recognizing sort of the contributions there. And so our contribution is pretty much just allowing the street closure, so pretty no cost to us overall. And there's no food, so it'll just be food trucks. And so there's really nothing on behalf of the three organizations. And alongside that, this weekend was Wreaths Across America. And for the first time, the Clovis Cemetery District placed wreaths on Secret War veterans alongside of American veterans too. And so finally had Hmong veteran groups come out. And so that was kind of cool to see that. And the message is always, Fresno gets all the accolades, but it's Clovis who does the action to actually embrace the different communities that are in our, that live here in the community. And so with regards to invitations, there will be only those two boards. And so it's not a Fresno thing, so no other electeds are gonna come, it's us and the school board. And so it'll just be very Clovis-centric event for the event.
At this time?
At this time,
This
at
is
10:30, and it'll be done by 12. Okay, so it'll go quick. Okay.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And with that, one last one. Measure C. Okay, the implementation guidelines are finalized. And Andy, can you kind of give an update? The steering committee approved them, but then can you just for the record, what happened in the two technical committees and how that came about, and that's what's going to be presented on the 18th to the policy board.
Yeah, so Measure C has two parts. One is the allocation amounts to the different kind of functions or uses of Measure C. That's been approved, and I believe it's made it all the way through the process. However, there is an accompanying document that really clarifies how the funds can be used within each of those buckets. That document has been approved by the steering committee, which is a group of citizens, and then it went to the technical advisory committee at the Council of Governments. That is professionals, think engineers and public works directors, the like. That failed there 5-4. And then it went to the city manager group, and it failed there 5-4 as well. That doesn't mean it doesn't move through the process. It's going to the mayoral group this Thursday night for consideration, but they'll just note that the technical advisory group and the city manager advisory group voted no.
Okay. And that'll be coming before, so if any of you or even fellow council members have things we should advocate for with regards to the implementation guidelines, please let me know, so that way I will advocate for it at the meeting on Thursday evening. Okay? So that's happening this Thursday. That's all. 5:30, yes, down at the COG. So
I know it's not an agenda item, just a quick question on that. I know we got all these committees and we're doing all these different things, but if the Board of Supervisors isn't going to approve where this goes, if I'm understanding that
Yeah.
right, shouldn't they be given guidance of what they want at some point so that we could actually work off of a working document?
Yeah, from what I understand.
Because it seems like it's going forward to the board, and then it gets kicked back to another group, then another group, and I just don't know what everybody wants out of this thing. And I know there's, a lot of different political ramifications and all that good stuff to it, but, at some point, I think maybe if they just, what are you looking to do here? And then we can work on it from there, so just my thought.
And if, I know that it's hard to navigate COG's agenda to get to the actual detailed agenda. But once you get there, it will have the comments from the county, from our staff, and from all the, so that you can kind of see what they want. I think in the staff report, they will provide sort of a summary of the main issues that are presented with the implementation guidelines, and then the Council of Governments will have the final say on, do we change numbers, do we actually add this or that? So that'll be happening this Thursday. Once it is approved, then I think the process moves forward to FCTA or the county, and they will also have say, but we have to approve it before it can move forward at the COG. Okay. Yeah. Okay, and that is it. We are going to move to closed session, and item 19 is a public employee performance evaluation of our city manager. Any comments on this before we move into closed session? Okay, seeing none. All right, we don't have anything to report out, right, Scott?
We're not asking for a report or action tonight that would need to be reported, no.
All right, thank you, everybody. Have a great evening. We're adjourned at 8:08.